Let us stand and please remain standing for the pledge of allegiance.
Let us pray. Our dear kind Heavenly Father, we do acknowledge you as the one in whom we live and move and have our being. We thank you for everyone who is present. We thank you for our county council that you have appointed for this service. We ask that you help us to be obedient to your will and help us to approach our agenda in the way that you would have us to. We invite your presence and ask that you abide with us. We ask that you continue to be with our men and women who are serving the country in uniform, especially those who are serving in harm's way. And we ask that you to please remember those who are serving in Ukraine, and we ask you to continue to have mercy on the people of Ukraine and also to just impress in the hearts of those who are the perpetrators and help them to value human life. Just be with them, Father. Be with them and help them. We thank you for the lives that you've already saved, and we're just standing on your promise that you will answer our prayers. And as we go through our agenda, we ask that you help us to have understanding, wisdom, and to have love in our hearts that we will make the right decisions. These are our blessings we thank and ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Veteran Johnny Wigfall served our country in the U.S. Army. He is a Vietnam War veteran that served from 1972 to 1974. He is a member of Jehovah Missionary Baptist Church and serves as a deacon and yard monitor. He loves serving God and enjoys worshipful arts and the drama ministries. After he was medically retired from the hammock shop in Pawleys Island, he moved to Sumter in 2007. He is in his 49th year of marriage to his beautiful wife, Mary G. Wigfall, and they have 5 children and 9 grandchildren. Mr. Wigfall currently lives in County Council District 1. Thank you for your service.
Please join me in the pledge of allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank Good. 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 Have a motion to approve the agenda. Second. First, approve. Move for approval. Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? We have a motion to approve the minutes from our regular meeting for Tuesday, March 8th, 2022. Move for approval. Second. It's been moved and properly seconded that we approve our minutes from our regular meeting for Tuesday, March 8th. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Land use matters, Article 2201, Ms. Rubin.
RZ 2201 is at 2175 North Main Street. The applicant is Mr. Heath Griffin. They're the authorized agent for the property owner. This request is to rezone approximately 1.77 acres of property located at the corner of North Main Street and Brewington Road from neighborhood commercial to agricultural conservation. It's on the southern end of the intersection, just south of going over the dam out of town. It's currently wooded. It is zoned neighborhood commercial, as are some adjacent properties at that intersection. This property was actually zoned neighborhood commercial from agricultural conservation in late 2012, early 2013. At that time, it was to permit a gym facility, which is not allowed in the agricultural conservation district. The current proposed user for this property actually wants to use the property for a private sports and recreation club, which is not allowed in neighborhood commercial, but it is permitted in the agricultural district, which was the previous zoning district, by conditional use. This private club would be a volleyball club for a private volleyball team, travel teams that would host events there for volleyball tournaments, as well as have their practice on the property. The property is heavily wooded and continues to be. When we look at rezoning requests, we look at the comprehensive plan land use designation. In this instance, it is designated as a priority commercial node meant to support residential development at major intersections in the more rural parts of the community. It's also influenced by the conservation preservation planning area because there is influence of floodplain in the vicinity. When we look at the established pattern of development in the area, the adjacent properties that directly abut this are residentially developed and continue to be used in that manner, as well as the properties to the north, east, and west with one vacant lot. Planning Commission does recommend approval of this request. We do find that the agricultural zoning district does permit neighborhood supporting residential uses by conditional use. Additionally, the agricultural district actually provides better protection from a development standpoint to the adjacent residential uses because there is a more significant residential or setback for non-residential uses in the AC district. Any structures would have to be a minimum of 50 feet from the property line. We would also look at some significant property under development. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions of Ms. Rubin?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Was this the one where there was a Zoom meeting to give information? No?
No.
No, okay. Does the applicant have any type of conceptual drawings as to what he is proposing?
Not at this time. No.
Any descriptions?
My understanding would be that they would like to use gravel parking area with a large gym-style metal building for that particular location, accessed off of Brewington Road. Generally, we don't obligate or require site plans to be submitted at time of rezoning, simply because it does have to go through the commercial site plan review process and check all of those development processes before it can get site plan and building permitting.
And, I know it's not a requirement, but, because of the surrounding neighbors, out of curiosity, I'm sure they would, want to have the courtesy of knowing, what the concept is.
I'm not sure it's gotten to a conceptual standpoint yet. They're actually contract purchasers for the property, so until they can actually own the property, they're trying not to spend any more money on the process than they already have.
I understand this, and we'll just wait and see what comes out of the public hearing.
Okay.
I've got a quick question. You said they zoned it to neighborhood commercial because they wanted to put a fitness facility in there?
Yeah, a gym, basically.
So what's the difference? I don't even see why.
Membership sports and recreation clubs are like your gymnastics clubs, your baseball teams, but
I'm just trying to understand why they even had to rezone.
they're under the SIC codes. There are different classifications and uses. Your 24/7 anytime fitness facility falls under a different SIC code than a sole use sports facility that's for like a volleyball team specifically, that's their facility. So unless you're a member of that team, you're not using the facility.
I really
It's,
don't- I don't see a huge difference.
it's probably not a huge difference in the great scheme of things, but under the SIC code, they are distinctly different uses.
Yes, this seems like a smaller use than a commercial.
It could conceivably have a smaller impact on day-to-day activity,
Yeah.
but it could on single one-off events periodically during tournament season have an impact for 1 or 2 days that would be larger than a regular operating gym.
You also mentioned the building, so is this gonna be an inside venue?
Yes, sir.
Well, if it's gonna be an inside venue, and I heard you say that the parking lot will be gravel, I would expect that they would at least pave or concrete.
The agricultural conservation zoning district everywhere in the county does not require that the parking
And
be
see, that's probably why, Councilman Baker, asked about, his zoning. And of course, we love development, and quality of life things, but, when we get development, see, this is my district, and I have to look out for my constituents. We want quality, but, really great, comparable to what others have.
Okay, Ms. Rubin. Prior to council taking action on this request, we will have a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this rezoning request, once the public hearing is open, please proceed to the microphone, state your name for the record, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And now declare the public comment section open.
Mr. Chairman, while they're coming, any chance we can get our residents in the back, a couple seats?
We got a couple over there. That is two. Not
Thank you very much.
back distance. My name is Al Montgomery, and I live at 35 East Brewington Road. And I am not certain from looking at this versus the way the sign is laid out on your property, because we got 2 corner property there. Is it east or west? I'm not sure which side of the street we're talking about.
Can you pull it up on, pull it up?
I'm sorry.
This one,
It's this piece right
So the
here.
corner of
East Brewington.
and then off Main Street.
okay, and it's right across from my property. I kind of agree with Ms. Fleming. I think we should have a design concept before, and that's a suggestion to the board, that the council, that we see some kind of conceptual design before the council approves this. It would be, to me, an invitation to for the neighbors in the neighborhood to know exactly what we're getting before making this this decision. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Montgomery.
Good evening. My name is Thelma Isaac, and I have a business right across from where this building is going to go. And I would just be kind of concerned about the traffic and the amount of accident that we have there happening at this time. Will there possibly be light put up there?
When you say light, do you mean stoplight?
Stoplight. Because we have so many accidents, every week there's accidents there. If this building coming in, there will be more traffic, and since they open the road out there, a lot of people get hit trying to cross the road or turn into the road. So, 2 or 3 times a week there are accidents there, practically every week. So I was concerned about the traffic, and I have a business that cross from it, so I would be concerned with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Anyone else?
Good evening, Council. My name is Louis Watkins. I live in the county on Providence. And I'm not necessarily against the project, Florida project per se. It's just that changing the use of a piece of property, and it's not specific to that particular group, they can come and get approval, and maybe 1 or 2 years down the road, the intended use is not being used and it's transferred to another venue, which would probably be have a negative impact on the community, a different negative impact. And if that group don't have to come back to the council to get use of that property, you have a problem. And many times I've seen it, not here per se, but I've seen people get zonings or variances and not use it for the intended use, and it becomes a more valuable piece of property and is passed on to another group, and the impact on the community may be much greater than the intended use. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White. Anyone else? Seeing none, public hearing is now closed.
Move for second reading.
Second. It's been moved and properly seconded that we have second reading for RZ 2201. Any discussion?
Yes, my discussion, okay, my discussion, Mr. Chair, is that, I don't know, is the applicant present?
Do not believe so.
Okay, if, you know, between, and usually, we have a pattern of allowing, second reading so that, we can get to third reading, to give the applicant, you know, to be fair and give the applicant opportunity to try to meet some of the requirements and some of the requests of the residents. And I would like to see that happen, you know, maybe at a meeting or something, that he could, maybe Mr. Administrator, I don't know, maybe you could arrange with Ms. Rubin, a meeting with the applicants and some of the key residents who have concerns, and maybe the one from SCDOT to address the traffic concerns and the sustainability of the development, you know, where it might, you know, to take away that potential for a change over time if that particular development is not sustained. You know, those kinds of things. You know, I would like for that to happen before third reading.
Again, couple things. Obviously, we got to be careful that we're requiring certain requirements above and beyond what's called for in ordinance. I think we need to be careful there. But we can ask the question certainly of DOT, but at the end of the day, I think they have to do their studies, and that's all part of the process. Moving along, we asked a lot of interesting questions. I think we just got to be careful as we don't start a process that we can't continue with every other zoning requirement.
And I certainly understand that. Of course, I don't want to get out of you know, out of compliance or anything, but I would like for her to communicate these concerns
Absolutely.
to the applicant, and hopefully he'll consider those and we'll, you know, make our decision on third reading.
Certainly, I think it would be appropriate to ask Helen to contact the proposed applicant and ask the questions that you're asking to them, and ask him to respond to us, in whatever form or fashion, and we can bring that information out to you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you, Ms. Rubin.
Mr.
Thank
Barrett.
you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Drew, can you, for the sake of the audience that have concerns, can you tell them what I can put there today without coming to this council?
Convenience store with a gas station, laundromat.
Okay, let's go back to the convenience store. That's why I thought this was a good deal for this neighborhood, because it's a smaller impact, like you said earlier, instead of someone putting a gas station.
So the agricultural conservation district's actually a more restrictive zoning district than neighborhood commercial. There are very, very few uses in the AC district that are permitted by right, which means that they don't require any additional review. In this instance, the use that's being requested, and virtually almost any use besides a house or some sort of farming operation, is going to require either a conditional use application or special exception public hearing approval. And as part of all of those use review approvals, we look at access, we look at buffering, we look at a variety of compatibility issues that are meant to ensure that the use that's going on that site and the site development are as compatible with the neighborhood as possible.
Thank you. I'll make sure, if Mr. Watkins brought some up, I'll make sure you understood that that's something.
We have also looked at this from a staff level perspective. We believe that access should only come off of Brewington Road
Absolutely.
and not off of North Main. It would have to come off of probably the furthest eastern point of the property away from the intersection. There are going to be some limitations on how big the building's going to be, simply because it's going to have the septic system, it's going to have the appropriate parking area laid out, and also the buffering and landscaping that's required for the use.
So Ms. Rubin, we are just changing the zoning that will allow this, but there is another step
There
that
is.
the applicant's going to have to go through before they build anything.
Correct. They'll have to file a conditional use application with a site plan that addresses all of the questions about parking, access, emergency access, all of the things that we look at through the commercial site plan review process. It's not like when you come in to do a permit for your own house where we just issue a building permit without plans. They'll have to have commercial building plans for the structure. They'll have to have fully drawn civil engineered plans for the site. They'll have to address stormwater management. They're going to have to get an SCDOT encroachment permit for the driveway. Even if there were a site on this property that's traditionally been used as a driveway, it's not grandfathered in. We look at it as a barren new site, and they have to meet all of today's development standards.
Any further discussion?
Just one quick question, nightclub. You can put a nightclub at AC,
You
but
can.
it's a 300, 500, what is?
So
Just to let
nightclubs,
these folks understand that.
nightclubs are a special exception approval in any zoning district in which they're permitted. And they're required to meet a 300-foot from structure to structure separation from a church, school, park, public playground, or residential use. The existing adjacent residences automatically knock this location out as being a suitable site for a nightclub.
So it can never be a drinking establishment.
Not legally.
Okay.
Just wanted to say one more thing, just, since my colleagues are trying to play it up. I live in the agriculture area, and I pass through there on my way home every day.
Yes.
And I go all the way past Brewington Road down to Bell Road, so I know the area. And in the AC, you know, just like Mr. Watkins said, you know, there are some pretty, some obtrusive developments that can go there. You know, I pass by turkey farms and, you know, and pigsties and things like that on the way home, and that can be done in agriculture area. So I just want my young colleagues to know that, you know, if he's not, you know, inappropriate when he says that something could, some other development could be possible down the road if these.
The 1.77 acre size of this property really does hamper its practical usefulness for any of those noxious and intrusive agricultural operations, which are also regulated by the Department of Health and Environmental Control. This lot's just simply not large enough for any of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Got a motion and a second. All in favor of having second reading for RZ 2201, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Opposed. Okay, motion passes 6-1. RZ 2126.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to table based on the request from the applicant. He'd like to get at least 60 to 90 days to talk with the residents and see if we work out a compromise. So that's my motion at this time. Second.
We have a motion and a second to table RZ 2126 until such time as the applicant is ready to bring it before council again. Any discussion?
Yeah, I got this. So the last time we met, we deferred for him to talk with the neighbors. Did he?
No.
He said he didn't have enough time. 2 weeks. And that's it.
I don't see going 90 days.
Well, it doesn't matter, we tabled it, it could be 6 months, it could be 30 days, we'll decide and we'll bring it off the table. So, I don't think it hurts either side of doing this.
All right.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to remind council that when we are ready to bring it from the table, it will require a vote.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. Any other discussion? We got a motion and a second to table. RZ 2126, all in favor of tabling? Please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is, the request is tabled. Thank you. Okay, under new business, resolution number 2203. Mr. Bryan.
Mr. Chairman, the council resolution R 2203 is a resolution to appoint commission litter control officers. And you have in their name Cindy Sumter and Tennessee Smith as the litter control officers. This resolution appoints and commissions the named individuals as litter control officers of Sumter County, whose jobs will be to enforce litter control ordinances and laws. They shall have the powers and duties conferred by law upon constables, including the use of an ordinance summons, in addition to the powers conferred by Section 4-19-145 of the Code of Laws of South Carolina, which is the enabling legislation that allows county council to commission litter control officers. These individuals may exercise the powers of arrest with respect to their duties as litter control officers, controlling the laws and ordinances and other state and local laws and ordinances as may arise, incidental to the enforcement of their primary duties when they have been certified as law enforcement officers pursuant to Chapter 23, Title 23 of the Code of Laws of South Carolina. But until they've been certified, they will not have arrest powers. Any questions about the resolution or the intent?
Any questions?
Motion to approve the resolution.
Sir. We have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Michelle. Right here.
All right.
Please raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Cindy Sumter,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I am duly qualified,
that I am duly qualified,
according to the Constitution of this state,
according to the Constitution of this state,
to exercise the duties of office
to exercise the duties of office
to which I have been appointed,
to which I have been appointed,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties thereof,
discharge the duties thereof,
and preserve,
and preserve,
protect,
protect,
and defend
defend
the Constitution and laws of this state
the Constitution and laws of this state
and the United
and
States
the United States
and of this county.
and of this county.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How you doing? All right. I state your name.
Timothy Smith,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I am duly qualified,
that I am duly qualified,
according according to the Constitution of this state,
according to the Constitution of this state,
to exercise the duties of the office
to exercise the duties of the office
to which I have been appointed,
to which I have been appointed,
and that I will,
to
to the best of my ability,
the best of my ability,
discharge the duties thereof,
discharge the duties thereof,
and preserve, protect,
protect,
and defend
and defend
the Constitution and laws of this state,
the Constitution and laws of this state,
and of the United States
and of the United States,
and of Sumter County.
and of Sumter County.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We also have on the agenda a proclamation proclaiming March as Bleeding Disorder Awareness Month in Sumter County. I have the proclamation, and it says, whereas in March 1986, President Ronald Reagan designated and formalized the designation of March as Hemophilia Awareness Month, and the further designations by the Federal Department of Health and Human Services designated March 2016 as National Bleeding Disorders Month. Whereas bleeding disorders advocates recognize this disorder during this month by wearing a red material, whereas these bleeding disorders, which share the inability to form a proper blood clot, are characterized by extended bleeding after injury, surgery, trauma, or menstruation, and can lead to significant morbidity and can be fatal if not treated effectively. Whereas this awareness month will foster a greater sense of community and shared purpose among individuals with all inheritable bleeding disorders. And whereas this awareness month will elevate awareness of and engagement in the inheritable bleeding disorders, journey beyond our community to the general public, enabling the prevention of illness, unnecessary procedures, and disability. Now therefore, I, James T. McCain Jr., Chairman of Sumter County Council, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2022 as Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month in Sumter County, South Carolina. And I think that there is a person here that is representative of this, Ms. Lisa Waterland. Is she present? Evidently not. Okay.
He also skipped.
Yes.
Fair housing, he skipped fair housing.
Oh. Okay. Resolution number 2204. We have a resolution proclaiming April 2022 as Fair Housing Month in Sumter, South Carolina. Council, what is your pleasure?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Baker, seconded by Mr. Baker, that we pass the resolution proclaiming April 2022 as Fair Housing Month in Sumter County. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Resolution is passed. Coming down to committee reports, or reports from council members on other meetings, trainings, and or comments.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Washington.
I'd like to be recognized for a point of personal privilege. I want to start by asking a few questions, and then I want to make some comments and possibly a couple of motions. And as you know, Mr. Chairman, you and I have been talking about the capital penny tax and rural roads, paving and resurfacing. And of course, I found out by reading in the newspaper that the Penny Tax Commission has already met. I would have liked to have known that because I would have liked to attend that meeting. Unfortunately, I was not aware But since the commission has been appointed, I have a couple questions. Is there a legal reason that the Penny Tax Commission cannot take public input? Is there something legally that prevents that?
Defer that to Mr. Bryant.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like an opportunity to address that. That really hasn't been our practice, but I'll have to look at that to see, what the statute says about that. I'll need to get that. Yes, no, I'll research the question and get my answer.
Mr. Washington.
We've discussed a number of projects. I know the county administrator and staff has done a good job going around the county visiting with groups about what they'd like to see with the penny tax. And I do not recall council voting on a package that we would use to encourage the penny tax commission, sort of steer them in the right direction. I know we had some conversation about that, but we never took a vote on the accepted package. What I want to know is, has that package been delivered to the commission?
To my knowledge, Mr. Washington, what happened was the county administrator and staff compiled that entire list of proposals from the public, from the other entities that were involved, and that entire list was presented to the commission, and it is now up to them to pare it down. Mr. Mixon, am I correct in that?
Yes, sir.
So is the county going to encourage the commission
We have no
in any
say-so in
specific
that at all,
area?
Mr. Washington.
Okay. Which creates even more of a reason for them to be able to hear from the public. My final question before I make some comments is that the way I understand this is that the commission will review all of the projects. I understand there are over 200. And then they will whittle them down and come back with projects that will come somewhere in the range of under $85 million. That package is sent back to council, and our only option is to vote it up or down. My question is, if council votes the package down because they're not satisfied with how the money is diced up, what happens then?
Nobody gets nothing.
So does the council then have the opportunity to ask the commission to go back? And if they do or don't, is that by law?
Mr. Chairman, once the commission presents a ballot question to the county council will pass an ordinance or not, sending it on for a referendum. If that ordinance does not pass, as before our third reading, if that ordinance does not pass, it will not go on the ballot in November. That will end this time, and you can establish another commission in a couple of years.
So, Mr. Chairman.
Once that referendum question is presented to county council, the commission has finished its duties.
So, Mr. Chairman, my question is, by law, can the commission not get back together by law? I'm not talking about tradition or what's been done in the past or how it's been done. My question is, by law, is that what the case is?
That's the answer, yes. Yes, once the commission submits its ballot question to county council, that includes their obligations and responsibilities.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Chairman, I want to start my comments by thanking you because you have attempted to work with me to get me there to support the penny tax. And Mr. Chairman, I'm trying to get there. But as I've expressed to you and several other members of council, I'm struggling to get there. So in my effort to be more collegial and congenial with my colleagues, I did some additional research. And I researched other states that had similar makeup to South Carolina, states that were tourist states, states that were in the South, states that engage in a lot of the things we do. And Florida was the state that I picked. And what was interesting is that in Marion County, Florida, they approved the sales tax in 2016 that sunset in 2020. What's interesting about what they did is the tax was used to fund public safety and transportation infrastructure only. That's it. Which is a good thing. Then I said, maybe one wasn't enough. So then I went to Matinee County in Florida. And what they said is that their local resources weren't keeping pace with the growing demand for a growing community. So they appointed a citizen panel as well, Mr. Chairman, that composed of citizens and businesses. And they asked voters to consider a half-cent sales tax to pay for their aging roads and equipment, and for law enforcement and public safety. Mr. Chairman, you might be surprised, but do you know that 71% of the funding went for roads and transportation? 71% roads and transportation. 16% for equipment and the sheriff's office. 14% for parks and community amenities. And so I then thought to myself, I need to come a little closer to home to create an in-state example of what we're discussing. So I went to York County. York County was the first county in the state to do a penny program. They've done 4. First one was in 1997. The county decided to present the capital projects tax to the citizens to provide the necessary funds for roadway and transportation issues. First one was in 1997. They had 14 projects, $99 million, all transportation. 2003, program consists of 25 projects with a budget of $173 million. Again, road projects. 2011, the third round, approved by 82% of the voters. So they knew what they were buying. They knew that they were buying road service. $186 million to fund additional roadway capacity and safety improvements throughout the county. And then, of course, the 2017 Pennies for Progress. 78% of the citizens approved it. And the programs consist of transportation progress identified by the citizens of York County. And it's estimated that the program could produce $278 million to fund additional roadway capacity and safety improvements I thought that was important. And the reason I thought it was important, Mr. Chairman, is because the penny tax is the only vehicle that will produce a considerable amount of revenue to address roads. We do not have the money in our budget to address roads. Our county administrator has been piecing pieces of money together here and there to do small projects, but in rural areas like mine, District 1, in rural areas like Council Lady McGaney's district, in rural areas like the councilman from Dazel's district, that is not cutting the cake. And roads are a basic service, a service that people pay for, a service that's mandated. And we've been told that roads are the #1 topic. Now, I've been saying this for a while, internally and externally, and I've made some suggestions, and I've not seen any concrete results. And here we are in the 9th hour about to ask the tax commission to review projects, and council has not taken a stand. We don't even know if the public can actually have their say with the committee. And Mr. Chairman, I find that very disturbing. What I also find very disturbing is that in the 2 prior penny taxes, we raised $154 million, and only 13 million of that went to roads. That does not treat roads like it is a top priority. And the heartbreaking thing about this is that it will be 7 years before another penny tax rolls around, which means folks are going to be driving these roads another 7 years before anything can be done. I don't think that's how government should treat its citizens. Now, I do have a motion. I actually have a couple motions. And if you'd like to postpone them until next week so we can have further dialogue, I am willing to do that because I want to make progress on this issue. This is my #1 issue, and I shared that with council when I came on council. And I told every one of you that I would be very aggressive on this issue. And I meant that. And so there are a couple things that I think we need to do. And one is, I'd like for, and I'll put this in a form of a motion, I'd like for the Penny Tax Commission to take public comment from citizens. You don't have to do it multiple times. Do it one time. This is their government. These are their roads. They deserve the opportunity to have their say. And the second thing that I want to do is make a motion that council encourages the Penny Tax Commission by letter to dedicate at least $26 million to rural roads, resurfacing and paving. And Mr. Chairman, before you fall out of your seat over there, let me go through my math with you, and it might help to put a better face on it. The first penny tax, there was no money for roads. The second penny tax, there was 13 million. So now we're at the third penny tax. So my math suggests to me that since roads are a #1 priority, we got to go back and get that 13 million from the first penny tax. And then we have to put 13 million in for this penny tax. That's $26 million. I shared with you the cities in Florida. One who donated all of theirs to public transportation and roads because they understood what their citizens want. And you heard the second. $26 million out of $85 million is legitimate based on how the road issue has been treated. Now, I'm a benevolent Grinch, Mr. Chairman. So if you would like for me to hold these two motions for 2 weeks, and we have the opportunity to negotiate and talk a little bit about it, I am willing to do that. If you tell me we have nothing to talk about, then we'll put the motions on the floor, we'll vote them up or down, but here's what I can guarantee every member on this council, that these votes will be seen again. They will be seen again. We have to take our citizens seriously. We have to take this road issue seriously. And it is the opinion of this councilman from Rembrandt that that has not been done. And I'm concerned about what the commission and council, the positions that will be taken. And Mr. Chairman, again, I congratulate you. You've been talking to me, you've been trying to work with me, and that's what a chairman should do. And so I congratulate you publicly on that. But I also want everybody up here to understand I represent the citizens of District 1, and sometimes I feel like I represent citizens of other districts too, because they call me about the same issue. Not only that, I've gotten calls from City Council, a member of City Council, who's been following this and shares the same concern. So this is not in a vacuum. The last comment I want to make, Mr. Chairman, and I'll be done, and you can let me know if my motion rides today or we will talk for the next couple of weeks and come back. The last concern I have does not involve county council. I read a newspaper article a few weeks ago. It was an article that one of our citizens wrote, City Council, specifically the mayor. And the mayor responded to this citizen. And at the end of his response, the mayor indicated that the matter was closed and it related to Manning Street Bridge. Now, you know, we have respected citizens in our community, and whether you agree with them or not, I thought it was a completely inappropriate public statement to make to one of our leaders. And it should never happen. Now, nobody on this council has done that. And Mr. Chairman, I understand you've been working on this issue. So again, I have to give you 2 congratulations tonight. You've been working. But the comment that was made by the mayor was inappropriate. And that comment should never be made to a citizen. The people decide when an issue is closed. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my comments for this evening. You can let me know if we want to talk, and if not, then I'd like to get my motions voted on. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the time.
Mr. Chairman, before we move on, I have some comments too. I was very, very respectful and indulgent in a
my colleague, from Renwood, he mentioned other counties or districts that have road needs, but he didn't mention District 7. I have road needs in District 7 also. But I have been kind and not pushing because I wanted where he said District 1 has the biggest need. And I was willing to ask my citizens to step back a little to see that the majority of the money go into District 1. So let me ask a question to the attorney. When the Petty Tax Commission